Today, I want to talk about an entirely different part of Revit. We've been talking about just sort of what things look like and how they're built, the building part of BIM, which stands for Building Information Modeling. And today, I just want to deal with the information part. And we're not going to draw a thing today, but so much goes into a modern building, even a residence, that you can't just put a little note next to each chair or next to each desk or next to each door and saying how big each one is and what color it is and how much it costs. Instead, we put all that in a schedule and provide a graphic link called a tag between the object and the drawing and the information about it in the schedule. Creating schedules with a pencil or even with a spreadsheet can be very tedious and error prone, but Revit just does schedules. It just makes them for you. You just say, make me a door schedule, make me a duct schedule, make me a window schedule. It just cranks them right out because it has all the information it needs. It was really difficult with AutoCAD. You'd have to extract information into a Excel spreadsheet and then convert the spreadsheet and then bring it back into AutoCAD. And it wouldn't update if you changed a door type. The schedule wouldn't update. And Revit, just the way that the detail and elevation numbers update, schedules update. In fact, you can be looking at a schedule and a plan at the same time, delete the door from the plan, and it is removed from the schedule. It's that integrated. And schedules are really just like a text-based camera. What do I see here? Make a list, sort it, add it all up, that kind of thing. So that's what we'll be doing today. And we want to be able to ultimately have a schedule for all the doors. They are, how big they are, what their number is, all the windows, what type they are, and the rooms and their areas, and what department they're in. And then ultimately how to just make like research all be pink and IT all be orange and sales all be green. So people can start to understand how those are grouped together besides just from a distance, understanding, oh, so if you see an orange one over here and all the oranges are there, maybe you need to pull that over. That's sort of where the only place where the graphics of this is really going to overlap with the sort of data end of things. So get ready to do some typing today. The easiest thing to start with is to number all the doors. We just select this door right here. We can see this is an exterior single 2-light door, so all that information will end up on the schedule, where it is, how it's set relative to the wall. But the important thing here is that it has this mark of number 1. And these were just numbered sequentially as they were inserted into the model. So that's number 1. Let's just pick this one. That's number 7. This one down here is number 24. The one next to it is, these happen to be in order because we just placed them, but there's really no rhyme or order to those. And eventually, once we get the room numbers in, want to tag all the doors to agree with the room number. So room number 101 will have door number 101. Just makes it really much easier to find things if you sort of get that sense of how things work in the building. These will probably end up being the room numbers that end up being on the rooms after the building is in use. A little sign on the door. So, in hotels, it's nice. You got 100, 102, 104, 106, and the odd ones down this side. Maybe you want to do it that way. Maybe you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, come around that way. That's a little more confusing, but that's up to you how you want to do this. But just be thinking about building information is for everybody and extends past just the building phase into the whole management of the building. And there's a whole aftermarket, if you like, for BIM models being used for facilities management and keeping track of where furniture is and how recently the air conditioners were replaced. Anyway, so generically, the identifier for a door is going to be a number or alphanumeric, maybe it's 1A or something or other, inside an oval and just saying like 101. And for windows, it's usually outside, a hexagon, or other quite different shape, saying type A, something along those lines. But these are very, very standard tags. You can change them if you want, but everybody in America is now using these, so you might as well just go with it. So let's just see what it takes to tag one of these guys. And this is information that's all going to be sitting in this view only. So it's annotation. We don't want to see this in the 3D views. We don't want to see it in your perspectives or renderings. We just want to see it right here in this one view. Or later on in electrical plan, we'll have some of the same ones. So we want to go to annotate. And then we have a couple of choices here. But right now, I just want to tag something by category. Just tag one item by what it is. I'm going to pick the door. And it says there's no tag. This is an actual like little symbol that's not here in this drawing. So we'll have to go get one, and that's easy. I'll say yes. It takes us over to our whole components thing. And we want to go to annotations. Door tags are the architect's responsibility for placing on things. Anybody can be doing some of these, but the architect is responsible for the door tag numbers, and that's us. Door tag. Can't tag a door with a room tag. Can't tag a window with a duct tag. Room door tag. Okay. And we just pick it. And it places door number 1, which, as you saw, corresponds to its mark. And a mark is each object's individual ID number. It's like its social security number. It's unique. Mark will be unique. And we can go and do that over here for this door. Annotate tag by category door. And that's number 5 because it was the 5th one I put in there. Well, that could be a little tedious, especially on any kind of big project. So there's a global tool to do this, which is annotate tag all, and it will tag all the instances of whatever we pick. So if I pick a door, it'll do all the doors of whatever type they are. If I pick a window, it'll do all the windows. So as I say tag all, I'm going to say door tags, apply. And now all my doors are numbered, which is a lot faster than anything that we could have done with a little timely template and a lettering guide. And I guess sort of here I went, well, that's 38, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are done in sort of a sequence. And the reason that the numbers are out of order is they've been erased, others put in, and each one becomes a sequentially higher past the last one. So right now we're ignoring that. But now each of these is a unique door. If we do want to change a number, like say we want to change this one to number 2, assuming that there isn't a number 2, we'll find out. I'm going to change this to number 2. 2 ways to do that. One, the easiest, sort of the clearest to me, is just to pick the door and in properties, go down and change it to number 2. Enter. Okay, this is telling me somebody already has that social security number. I can't do it. Actually, I can do it by clicking on OK, but that leads to 2 doors number 2, which can get no end of confusing. So if this one has to be number 2, I'd make the change here and then immediately go find the other one and change its number to something else. So we could go find that if we wanted to, but let me just say, I'm going to pick this and change it to number 200, just for, or 102. It's on the first floor. Those are usually numbered from 100 to 199. We can do that. There's not one of those already. These can be moved around. Just click and drag. You know, if there's something going on there that's in the way of, but usually they just stay right there. And that way, if it's a door opening and there's no actual door there, that's sort of centered right in the hole between the walls. A case like this, you might want to move it out of the way a little bit, or out here, so that the lines don't sort of interfere with the text. Just a design issue on your part, depending on where you've got room to put it, really. So let's make the schedule now. You know, schedule is like another camera. The cameras are all managed here in views. We go to view, here, schedules. Anyway, somewhere in your view, create model tab and schedules. And we're just always going to be using this top one right here, this whole year, schedule quantities. And these are all of our building categories. And we just want to come down and say doors. Okay. So on the schedule, we're going to have the door numbers down the first column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we tell it what information do we want to have about each one. And as a rule, that's going to be the family, which is the geometry of it, like single flush door with round window or double glass door. So the first thing we do is pick family and say, add this to our list of things we're going to have on the schedule, the scheduled fields. And I think once we, the very first thing would actually be the mark. So we can make a connection between door number 101 on the plan and then door number 101 on the schedule. That's that linking field to get us from what's drawn to what's on the schedule. So say mark. And the order of these this way, top to bottom, is the order that they'll be arranged left to right on the schedule. So I actually want mark to be first. So I'm going to pick Mark here and then just move it up in the schedule list, which will move its column over to the very beginning. So its ID number, its family, and then let's just say we want to do its type, which will be its dimensions, 36 by 84, whatever those happen to be. So Mark, family, type, we add that. And I think I'll move that down. So sort of the most important things first, ID number, general shape, then specific size. And then we just say, okay. And Revit creates this long door schedule. These are going to be a lot easier to deal with if they're all in numeric order. So we don't have to keep searching for number 20 somewhere between the 30s and the 40s. So each of these schedules can be sorted any number of ways. Let's open this up so we can see everything. When we're in a schedule, all of our basic tools for manipulating a schedule are here under fields, which we just did, which is the ones we want. A filter, which says basically which ones to ignore or which ones to include. We're just including everything, so we're not using that. But under sorting and grouping, we do want to put Mark in numeric order. So we'll do sorting and grouping. And this is sort of at the very bottom of page 1. And I'm saying I want to sort this list by the Mark. And we'll do it in ascending order. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 going that way. And we just say, okay. So now these are in order. If we go back to our level 1 plan, let's see how this ends up being useful, like on a sheet where we can start making connections between the drawn thing and the schedule thing. So right now we don't have any sheets, any title blocks done. To create them, as you remember, we just right click on Sheets All, New Sheet. I was trying to get this drawing small enough to get onto Blackboard, and it didn't work. And as a result, I stripped out apparently too much. I stripped out everything that wasn't being used. But if we go to select title blocks and say load, this is just like load family. So we want to go to title blocks in the main category library. Annotations down here at the bottom is title blocks, just in our main list of categories. They're not part of a building, but they're part of a drawing set. And let's just take 22 by 34 horizontal one. These are the engineering sizes, which are basically multiples of 11 by 17 in one direction or another. Architects use 24 by 36, but we'll deal with that later. Anyway, D22 by 34 horizontal, okay. So it's loaded. Now we need to place it. Done that and say, okay. Here's this. We can drag our plan on. And I'm going to shrink this down a little bit, I guess, from quarter to, let's just say 1/8 inch. When we created the schedule, it created this category over here, this division in our project browser. And you really have to have that and properties open all the time. We can drag door schedule over onto the sheet as well. And it's too long to fit for a couple of reasons. One is this middle column is so narrow. So if we click on this, we just click on the schedule, we'll get little markers for the edges of the cells. We can drag that out until all those fit on one line. And until these will fit on one line. That should do it. And then it almost fits, but not quite. So to split that, we can select it. And then right down here on the side, you can see we have a little cut split schedule. We can just click that and it will divide like that. I was still having problems fitting it. So I'm going to move this down to here, move this down to here, split that one. So I think that'll fit pretty well, but I'd like to adjust the ends of them, the bottoms of them. So as I click on this and push up on this end, the other guys get longer accordingly. And you can sort of play that out however you want that to look on your sheet. So a lot of data being manipulated very, very quickly for us in ways that in AutoCAD or by hand are just too painful to think about. I'm finding that having this floor available to me here, try to pick something, it ends up wanting to pick the floor instead of picking the object I want. So I'm just going to turn the floor off so I don't have to deal with it in this plan. I mean, it might be useful for lining up furniture or something or other. You know, it's like 12-inch floor tiles, but I don't really care. So I'm going to select it, right-click, hide in view element. Okay, now the reason that the text showed up so big once we had scaled this thing was that this font is 1/4 inch Arial, which means when plotted, it's going to be 1/4 inch high. So here we are where things are plotted. And if I just draw some lines first, let me just show you this. Draw a line here and copy it down to here. Sorry, copy, control, drag. We can see right away that text is a 1/4 inch high plotted, which is what it's supposed to be. So it boils down to back in level 1, I should have been doing all this with a smaller font. We're gonna get rid of all these pretty soon anyhow. But I wanted to show you how before you start annotating a drawing, you really need to start thinking about how large am I going to plot this view so I can make all my annotation objects an appropriate size to start with. So if your room's only as big as a postage stamp and plan, and your text is 1/4 inch high, it's going to spill out. And I think right now I'm just going to change all these to a smaller font just so we can see them on this plan. I don't want to change the scale of the plan. It works well on the sheet, but I want to pick this one. Picking that one, I can then go to change it to 3/32 Arial, you know, 1/10 of an inch high or so, and that's fine. That'll work. Again, Revit will help me change numerous objects at one time. I can select them all, change them all to that smaller font. So I'm going to pick Sales Manager. And I don't know if you'd experienced this, but when you right click any single object, you get a bunch of different options for it. And one of them is select all the instances of that same type in the current view, let's say. So select all instances of this type in this view. So they're all selected, and I can change them all to the 3/32. So that's a lot more manageable to deal with. Let's look at windows briefly. Windows are scheduled differently from doors. Probably all these sales offices doors are going to be essentially identical, but some hinge on the left, some hinge on the right. The sales manager might have a better lock on his or something or other. I don't know. But doors are unique enough that each door really always has its own line in a schedule. So you can talk about hardware, you can talk about keying, you can talk about its finishes, you can talk about the fire rating of the glass panel in the door, all that kind of stuff. Windows, on the other hand, you know, I think here in this building, there are just 2 or 3 different types of windows. So instead of saying window 1, window 2, window 3, window 4, window 5, window 6, we just want to see that this is like, this might be like window type A, this might be window type B, this is a B, this is the B, this is a B, this is a B. And that really lets whoever's doing the quantity takeoffs realize, oh, I got 16 Bs and 7 As and I'm good to go. They come in on a truck, just plug into a hole in the wall. So let's look at what's involved in tagging windows. Again, we go to annotate. I'll go to tag by category just for the first one and pick this window right here. No tag loader for Windows. Do you want to load one now? Well, of course I do. So we'll scroll up and find it's in annotations somewhere, probably architectural this time. Yes. And we want to use just this plain old window tag and put it right there. Okay, so it's not a hexagon, it's a rotated square. Now again, instead of doing each one individually the way that we start out doing, we can again tag everything in a category. And still under annotate tag, we can go to tag all. And since we loaded a window tag, one of those is available. Apply, and now they're all tagged. So it's saying that the single ones are number 4s and the double ones, that's a true double window, not two side by side, are number 5. Well, it's a little strange to start with number 4 and 5 when there's not a 1 and 2. So I think what I'll do is change the number 4. Let's just say type A. Let's just say type A and B just to show how different this can be. Sort of keep them differently numbered from the doors so it's really clear what's going on. So one way to do this is to pick one of the windows. And what I want to do is change not its mark, which is its individual ID number, which we don't care about, but what's called its type mark. And that's going to be an edit type. So it will apply to all the windows of the same style and size. And we see, scroll down at the bottom of that its type mark is 4. I want to change that to a capital A. So just like changing the size of a type, it's going to change all of these guys that are of that same type, this 24 by 48 fixed. And if I say OK, it changes all of them. All the 4s have been changed to A's. I'll do the same thing for these double windows. We can just pick the window itself. Well, actually, interesting. We can pick the window, or we can just go right in here. And it's not a double click. Here's something that took me a while to get used to. If I double click this, well, maybe they fix this in 24. Okay, so you can double click. Double click on that and change that to a B. Enter. And it's saying you're changing a type parameter. You know that? This is going to affect every one of these, in the whole project. It could be 1,000 windows in the hospital or something. Could affect many elements. Continue. Yes, that's what we want to do. And all the 5s change to Bs. Let's just put the window schedule on as long as we're at it. It's a view. It's a schedule view. And the category is windows, which would include skylights if you had them. Change nothing else. Okay. I don't need to say A, B, 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 B. I really want to see type A is a 24 by 36 window, whatever it happens to be. And there's 27 of them. So instead of 27 of them listed, I just want to see the number 27 next to A. So we're going to do something a little differently here on page 2. So here, for the windows, I want to start, my first column, I want to be the type mark here. So we'll say type mark, not mark, which is its individual number, but the type mark, the kind of thing it is. And then its family, which is its what it looks like. And then the type, which is its size. Sorry. Oh, type's already there, sorry. Oh, type mark. I need to bring in there and bring that to the top. So that'll be type mark A, and then family, what it looks like, and then type, which is the size. And then lastly, I want to put in the count field, which will tell us how many of them there are. I'll put that last. So it'll be A, double hung, and then the size, and then 27 or whatever it happens to be. And this is going to look a little funny when we first start. We've got to do a little sorting before it works out right. But our fields are type mark, family, type, and then count, and OK. So really, they're just two. They're really just, we want this to be done. We want this to be 2 lines by the time we're done. Just for type A and how many, and type B and how many. So we've got 2 things to do. One is to sort these by type mark. So we get all the A's and then all the B's. And then we uncheck itemize every instance, which will then consolidate all the A's onto one line and all the B's onto one line. Really just 2 things to do there. Sort by type mark, uncheck itemize every instance. Okay. So that's going to make it really easy for the window guy to just look at it and see and know exactly what he needs to provide. And then I'll put this on the sheet as well. Just drag the schedule onto the sheet. It might be that the door supplier is not familiar with Revit necessarily, and the words mark and family and type don't mean anything to him or her at all. We can change those. We can change the door schedule. We can change these headings to be whatever we want. Let's say to door number, style, and size, if you like. Again, I'm going to double click on this schedule to get back and to be able to edit that. And just I'll leave door schedule as door schedule, and we can just come right here and say the word mark and just do door number. Or just to save space, I could do DR number. And once that's done here, it's done on the sheet as well. If you want to pull your schedules back together again into one long one, like you've rearranged your page and you've got room for those, if you click on the second one, its move arrow right here, you can just sort of drag that onto anywhere onto the previous one, and it will just add itself to the bottom and continue. You got to do it, got to grab that thing and just stick it on there. Now let's go back to the floor plan. I want to do the same thing with rooms. When you're placing the room names for the rooms here, the interior design suite in AutoCAD, it was just a piece of text. And that's all we have here. It's just a piece of text. And Revit's not going to do anything with just a piece of text. It doesn't know why that's there or what it means. And in part, that's because we haven't, although we've drawn the walls, we haven't yet created the rooms. And rooms are bounded volumes of space that have a name and a number and a function and an occupant and a telephone number and who knows what all. So the first thing we need to do is actually create some rooms. In fact, create rooms for all this. And that's an architecture room. Shortcut is RM. Creates a room bounded by model elements such as walls, floors, and ceilings. And you click in a space and it finds the bounding edges of things and creates the room. If you click that there, it's not going to work. It's not bounded. Okay, so we got a room. Let's just start here in the conference area. And a couple things you see right away, we can be able to place a tag at the same time we create the room, because we have tag on placement is active, and that's helpful to let us know where we actually created these rooms. And right now, we're not going to say place rooms automatically. It'll do that. It'll create all the rooms for us if we want, but we just click there. And we now have a room. And the reason it's number 46 is I've done this a bunch of times in this model, and it got up to number 45. I erased them all, but it's still remembering that there's that place to start with. Let's just do the next one over here. Let's go to room and place one here. And it's numbering them sequentially. So for smart, instead of having to go in and renumber a bunch of rooms, it'd be nice if we just started where we thought we wanted to be our first room, our lowest numbered room on a given floor, and then just go do them sequentially, and they just number themselves. So I'm gonna escape Control Z a couple of times and get rid of these guys. And sometimes it'll say no room tag has been loaded, so you go get that and insert it the way we did with the door and the window tags. But let's say we want the waiting and reception to all be our room number 101, and we'll just go sort of around this way for 102 and worry about the people's sequence later on. So I'm going to go to room and place one here. And it was sort of remembering that numbering system before. If I two-click on the 46 and change that to 101, hit enter or something or other. There we go. 101 reset the counter for the room numbering. So if I continue sort of around, it's gonna make this one be room 102, and then room 103, and we can just keep on going down the hall. And we can always renumber these, but it's sort of a pain because you can't renumber something to 103 if there already is a 103. So we might want to start thinking about, do I want to do 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110? Do I skip to 11? Is this 11? That's going to be your call, but I'm going to do it that way, actually. 104, 105, 106. Hope this isn't going to mess us up later on. I haven't actually done it for a long time. And it doesn't matter if your numbers end up being a little different from mine. I'm not, you know. And if yours ended up anything like mine, I think I would probably change this one to be 116 just to keep the idea of all the even guys down along that side. 16. So if I got around to 116, I haven't thought this out. Let's go to room. Let's see. The next one would be 117. Might be, maybe it's 17, 18, 19. I'll just do that. 17, 18. And I'm not going to do closets and things right now. Well, not little closets anyhow. Well, that pretty well worked out. And what we'll be doing shortly is coming back in and replacing the word room with whatever the text is here. You know, room, instead of room, it'll say reception, and we'll get rid of the piece of text, and that way reception can show up in our schedule. So we'll say 101 reception area, whatever. Let's look at this little storage room where two things start to come into play. One is it's like it's too small for the room number to fit. You know, that's a long box. We can maybe edit that, but I'm not going to deal with that at this point. So if I go to room and just put this in here, because it's off of room 105, it doesn't really have its own number off of here. So auxiliary rooms like that are accessed only from another one, or closets, for instance, usually we'll have, if this is 105, this could be 105.1. If you have three little closets, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So I'm just going to go and change this to 105. If you double click, you get into editing the family itself. You just never want to be here. Click out of there and say, no, I don't want to change the save. So it's really two clicks. One click on the tag, one click on the letter. You have to get in closer, maybe. There, 105.1. And that's going to be hard to read. I'm going to move the tag out into the hall where we can see it better. I'll select it, drag it out. And because leader was checked for that, we now have this pointing into that room to tell us that tag refers to that room. If I click it and turn leader off, it'll move back into the room. So you're never going to get the situation where you have room 105.1, that symbol appearing to refer to a different room. I mean, I could drag it over there, but we still get the line saying, here's where it's going. So just to make that clear, now I can come into here on the word room, click once to highlight it, click again, and we'll say lab storage. Now I can go and get rid of this down here. There was a question from the floor about how to handle corridors. That's exactly what we're doing. When you're talking to the painter, let's assume that like this one across the top is going to have one color paint, and this has another, and this has another, and this has another. They really need to be addressed as separate rooms. But we can't put walls across there. And we don't want to do invisible walls. So what Revit came up with was the idea, let's go down into here. Let's say I want to separate this into a waiting and a reception area, because they're going to have different finishes. I don't know what. If we go to architecture, we have what's called a room separator, which acts just like a wall, except there's nothing there except the line. So we pick room separator, and I'm just going to put that across here. And we can hide that later on. But now I have, here you can see that the waiting room is only the top part, and we have not a room down here where reception was. So to create this as a separate room, I can go to room, and it shows in light blue everything that we have identified as a room, indicating this is clear. And since the last room I did was 105.1, it's picking that up. What else can it do with 105.2? But I'm going to change this to just to 100. Or these could have been 100A and 100B. You can go play with those later on. If we don't want to see that line there, we can select it, right click, hide in view element. And we still have two rooms here. It's sometimes a little difficult to find that X that indicates the room. You sort of drag your cursor around in a circle around the tag until you hit it. Zooming in helps. For the corridors, which your question was, I think we'll do a room separator, and then I'll probably just do it from corner to corner. You can just sort of stick it just sort of inside the wall there at the intersection, just so that it overlaps the two walls at either end and we don't have space sort of leaking out. It can snap right to the corner, or it can go into the wall, doesn't matter. If I go to wireframe, you can see that they actually extend into the wall. We're fine. So that would be, I think I'll do the same thing over here. Room separator. Imperfectly drawn walls. And then probably on an angle down here as well. I use SE for snap to endpoint. So now I can go ahead and place architecture room. If you know you've got everything all figured out, you can say place rooms automatically and it will populate the whole floor. But you run into these same problems of wall separation lines and walls not meeting at corners and stuff. So I think we'll just do this. This is cleaner. Got a couple of lavatories and stuff. I got three little closets. I'm going to do those. Are going to be a little tough to locate in terms of the room numbers. Let's just see how that works out. Architecture room. Where am I over here? And that one I'm definitely going to drag outside. Click it, drag it. Two little closets. Okay. Room. If you want to see if you got everything, we can hover around till we can select a room, and then right click, select all instances in the view. Actually, I wanted to highlight. Let me try that. Let me just try placing a room. I was hoping to see them light blue fill. I forget how to make that. I'll blame it on it being a new version of the program. Oh, I'm in wireframe mode. Let me go to hidden line. There we go. That was the difference. Wireframe just shows the edges. Okay, so I can see at this point I've got all my space accounted for. Up at the top here, there are these sort of mystery areas that I don't know if they were for ventilation ducts coming through or something, but they're not part of the rooms. They're nothing that we have to account for in what we're involved with. The fun part of this, well, I say that ironically, is for this to be worth anything, we have the names of the offices, conference, sales manager, sales office, just as text, provided by the owner or something or other. But we need to put it into the BIM model. Well, to get information out, we have to put information in. So we need to basically go through and change each of these to give the Revit room name to make that the same as the one provided by the owner. So I'm just going to go to conference. And I'm going to keep these kind of short, I think, just so they're going to fit well. And it's tedious, but you only have to do it once per project. You can just go into this one, copy that text, Control C, go into this one, Control V, Control V. Why a finance office needs a laboratory, I don't know exactly, but that's what we got left over from the previous document. And I think for, just your use and everybody else's uses in the future, it's a little confusing having sales office and then research off. Maybe just decide how you want to make that, be consistent about that. Even if you don't have all the names changed, let's move on just so we can take care of this whole thing today. Let's make a room schedule, which will be, it's a view, schedule quantities. Now that we have some rooms, we can schedule them. Okay. And we're going to be keeping track of the area of each of these as well. Let's just maybe work down here and pick the things that we want to have. Area. I'm going to have, we'll add department in later. Name. They actually call it number right here. That's not a quantity, that's an actual thing. So room 102, conference, and the area, and that's all we really need to deal with at this point. And we'll say, okay, get a schedule. I got the column order wrong. Room number first, and then the area at the end. So all the tools we have for sort of doing that manipulation is here in properties. So I want the area to be down and the number to be up. Number, name, area, okay. So we'll do like that. And then just to be sure, I'm going to sort them by number, by room number. Okay. Now it'd be nice to know what's the whole area of this building. So let's look at some ways we can add totals and also do a little lining things up, like getting all these to be right justified. And that will be having to do with the formatting of this schedule. Right here, room schedules opening up under formatting. First thing I need to do is to say, I want to see what the total area of this whole building is. Let's take area. Where did calculate totals go? Oh, right here. It's this is not a heading. Where it says no calculation, we say calculate totals. Sorry, beg your pardon. So we want to calculate totals for area. Come down and we see that we got 5,100 something square feet, 42 rooms. We do this, calculate totals, and then over in sorting and grouping, we say check this, so to display the titles. Yeah, one is do it, one is show it. Sort of going back and forth. So what I want to do is to assign each of these rooms to a department. We've got them here on page 3 of the lecture notes. Sales, finance, research, IT, lab, circulation, and shared. And then to be able to sort them on our room schedule by those. So IT can see how much space it has, research, sales, like that, and then a total. And then finally to color them on the plan. So let's be here and go back to our fields. And I want to add the department field to these guys. Add department and go ahead. And I think I'll move that up one, number, name, department, and area. So that's possible. It's here, but we haven't assigned any of those yet. We can fill in the schedule right here. We can give information from the schedule to the object. It's just different cameras aim at different things. So if I say reception is, we're going to call that shared. We've just created a department right there. And then from then on, if we then click in the department field of waiting and use the drop-down arrow, we can see ones that we've already assigned. And for sales manager, we won't use shared. We're going to make that be sales. And then obviously that's this one then goes to sales. Lab is its own department. Lab storage is part of lab. Sales is part of sales. Finance. You're thinking, why are we doing all this? It's worth it when we get there. So you just create a new department when you need to create a new department. My microphone battery gave out here, so I'm going to be guessing what I was saying for the rest of this time. To see how the departments line up, we need first to sort the schedule by department, not by room number. And then within each department, we will sort by room number. They might have been already, but just making sure. Now I'd like to insert a blank line in the schedule after each department, just to separate them better visually. And then I'd like to see square foot totals in the line after each department. That line's called a footer. So finance will get its totals, IT will get its totals, lab will get its totals, etc. And voila. And now, in the interest of saving space and ink, I want not to display finance, finance, finance in line after line, but have the word appear just once in a header above the department. The first thing to do is to hide the department column in the schedule. The information in it is still known to the schedule, but not visible. So we go to the Formatting tab, select Department, and make it a hidden field. Then we go back to Sorting and Grouping and add a header that will display the department name. And there we have a concise, compact room schedule sorted by department. Let's see what this looks like out on a sheet. Okay, that'll need a little tidying up. It's obviously too long, so I'll split it. And then adjust the column length so the whole research department will appear in the first column. And since the header and footer provide ample white space between departments, I'll get rid of the blank line between them that I inserted earlier. So back to sorting and grouping. And then readjusting the column lengths to account for that. So the last thing we'll do is assign a color scheme to this plan that will color each room depending on which department it belongs to. This is all in the properties of the view itself. So with no object selected, Properties displays the properties of the current view, and we go down to Color Scheme. All we have to do here is tell Revit to color rooms by department. And it does so. If the colors are too pale or not what you want, you just go back and change them. I'll just crank up the saturation on most of these. You're the designers, you can do whatever you want here. To provide a color legend that will link each color to a department in this view, we use Annotate Color Fill Legend. Just click it and place it. All these greens are too similar for my liking. Everything updates, everything stays in sync. For a plan at this level of schematic detail, you probably wouldn't have the door and window tags turned on, so you'd hide them by category.